Are your actions in line with your values? Sometimes somebody's slacking and somebody has to call them out.
And that's accountability in action. And it's not easy, but it's crucial for your success.
If you're not following those values, then we have to take that up with you.
First of all, we have to define what culture is. It's the behaviors that we allow in the bay. It's the standard that we set. Culture is defined by what we tolerate, not what we're preaching. Culture exposes the leadership. If you have a real bad culture, that's a huge indicator that there's something wrong with your leadership. Huge.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Shield. And as I promised, part 2 of Ryan Rodriguez, owner and operator of Ignited. You got to check this dude out online. I'm telling you. There are guys that got the answers. And right now, on the other side of this camera, you're looking at one. So, Ryan, we talked about leadership in the last episode. And we were going to dive into culture, but we had so many good things about leadership that we didn't get there. So today, let's talk about culture. And how do we make culture better? Because you had a saying in the last episode, not a saying, but you had I'll call it a mantra, that everything that leads up and works to creating a good culture. So I think in this episode, we're going to have some pretty good insight as to how to make our culture better. Because what we're hearing, and now, as I said in the last episode, I was listening to a firefighter, I think I did, listening to the Ray McCormick, the wizard of the nozzle, talk about that we're attacking each other now on social media because and rating our firefighter levels by, if you don't do this, you're not a good enough firefighter. So that affects all of our culture. And I think that social media is ruining our culture. But it's yours, sir. Floor is yours. Ryan, how do we make culture better in a firehouse?
That is a good question. Well, I did write a book on it. So hopefully I can give you some good insight here.
I think so. What is that book, Ryan, by the way? What is that book? We need to know that book.
The book is Own It. Oh, I don't know if you can really see it.
We can see it now. Yep.
There we go. Own It. Build a fire service culture of trust and integrity through accountability.
Amen.
The whole reason I wrote that book is because every issue that I saw challenging the fire service today that I've been exposed to over the last 20 years, every single issue, whether it was a policy issue, safety issue, a morale issue, whatever it is, it all traced back to accountability every single time. And so I wrote the book to kind of give some insight and a framework into how to take ownership of that, structure your accountability systems, build trust along the way, and as a result, build an amazing culture. And to kind of go back to what you were saying, my mantra, it's really a systemic approach that I've kind of crafted over time, is that leadership drives values, values drives behavior, behavior drives culture, and culture drives performance. And the one just leads to the next. And so, first of all, we have to define what culture is, right? It's not a statement. It's not like a plaque on the wall. It's the behaviors that we allow in the bay, right? It's the standard that we set as an organization and as members of that organization. Culture is defined by what we tolerate, not what we're preaching. Okay. And I talked a little bit about core values. Key. Yeah. I talked a little bit about core values in the last episode, and I was kind of saving it so we could talk about it specifically in culture, because we have a lot of organizations who want to put a bunch of buzzwords on a plaque or on a paper and put it on the wall. And
wait, that doesn't work? That doesn't change everything overnight?
Yeah, no. You would think it would, right? I mean, it's laminated and it's above the urinal, so good thing it's laminated, boy.
Good thing.
But we have these organizations who want to put up these buzzwords and act as if that's what drives them. but it's really disingenuous. And again, it's just another example of optics over principle, right? We want to put on a good show, but really we're dead inside. Like it's like putting makeup on a corpse, right? And it might be harsh to say, but it's the truth. I worked with an organization who was trying to rebuild their mission, vision, and values. And I love working with organizations to do that. I think it's fun. Um, I love identifying the organization's natural core values. I like spending time with the people, and I'm an observer. So I take a bunch of notes and I just watch. And I watch and I see what are the things that these people value. And over time, maybe, a week, 2 weeks, then I come back with a list of core values that they naturally operate by, and I present them to the organization. Okay. And this organization's like, no, we don't really like those. We want, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we want this, and we want always be learning. And I'm like, yeah, those are good things, but your people aren't doing those things. So they're not core values. Those aren't your actual core values. Why don't we focus on what your actual core values are, double down on those, filter everything through those things? And I told him, people can remember like 3 to 4 things at the most. 4 things at the most, right? Three
Absolutely.
things is typically what we've got time and attention for. 3 things. So if we identify our core values as like trust, integrity, and brotherhood, then we better be willing to focus or filter all of our behaviors through those things moving forward. That's what builds our culture, right? Not a list of 8 to 10 things on a piece of paper or a plaque on the wall that don't mean anything to us. Okay. So this organization I worked with, they basically like tossed aside all the observations that I had made, and their legal department or HR, whatever, gave them a list of good things to have on their core values list, right? Good buzzwords, good things that are politically nice and attractive, quote unquote. Uh, so they had like, I want to say eight to 10. Um, and then I saw one of the chief officers just a couple of weeks later about and I asked them, how's it going? Like, how is your how is your implementation of the core values going? How is the culture changing? And I know it's only been a couple of weeks, so I don't expect any huge changes, right? But I just wanted to get my finger on the pulse of it. And he was like, "Oh, it's going great. It's going great." And I looked to the person next to them and was like, what are your guys' core values?" And they had no idea. And the chief officer looked at me like, "Well, they're on the wall right there." I was like, "Can you tell me what they are?
Yep.
Just not looking at the wall, can you just tell me what they are?" "Oh, no, I'm afraid I can't." And I was like, "Then
What
then
good are
then
they?
they are no good. They have failed. Like, it has failed." So they have to be practical, they have to be genuine, right? And on the flip side of that, if like lateness, gossip, or corner cutting is tolerated, well, guess what your new culture is? For good or bad, like culture is good or bad, right? When I hear the word culture, I think of a petri dish, and I think of a culture, an actual culture of a bacteria, right? And it will grow or die depending on what you give it and or what you put in the dish, right?
Yep.
And it's the same like for good or bad. You can grow salmonella or you can grow antibiotics. You know, it just depends on what you're willing to tolerate as an organization,
You know,
regardless of what the mission statement says.
you mentioned that, and I know a department that they wanted new mission, vision, values,
Hmm.
and they took a lot of time, brought their people in, got an idea what it is, what they wanted to be,
Hmm.
created it. Smart people. I mean, good people at the top created it,
Hmm.
and then a short time afterwards, something was uncovered that not a single thing was being followed of their self-directed mission,
Right.
vision, values. It wasn't
Yeah.
that HR came down and said, okay, use these buzzwords, but they created their own. And
Hmm.
it, you know, as they say, culture eats change for breakfast. They wanted to make a change, and they felt they were all in.
Yeah.
But it didn't take apparent. I mean, I don't know the details. I by no means. I'm taking it from, talking to the mailman whose cousin was the bus driver who was the guy who used to
Yeah.
deliver bread.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you if you want to do the right thing, and you either bring in somebody like you or somebody else, how do you, when it fails, how do you straighten it? How do you correct it? Because like you said, anything can grow in that dish. That's an excellent way to look at it.
Yeah. It's true. And core values can be aspirational. There's nothing wrong with putting one or two up there that are aspirational. Like, this is how we want to behave. But the issue there is they have to filter their behaviors through it. Everything they do, they're going to have to filter through it, and they're going to have to be willing to hold people accountable and to be held accountable to it from
Mhm.
the lowest level. If the firefighter has an issue with something that his captain did because it goes against their core values, that firefighter should be able to hold that captain accountable without any recourse,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And therein lies the biggest challenge of all. It's accountability in action, right? Accountability is hard.
Yeah.
These conversations are hard because you have typically two people who have an opposing viewpoint or an opposing behavior. Something has happened and emotions are high, right? And not only that, but there's also high stakes. There's high stakes for everybody involved because the captain doesn't necessarily want to look bad. The firefighter doesn't want to be disciplined or punished, right? And so everybody, that's where the status quo creeps in. That's where we allow all of these things to happen. And then our standards drop, and then our people are unhappy, and then morale declines. And then we're like, how the hell did we get here? Well, I'll tell you how you got here. You weren't willing to put your ego in your back pocket and do what is right and be held accountable and hold other people accountable. What gets measured gets improved. That's
Mm-hmm.
across the board for
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Anything.
If I want to lose 10 pounds, I don't get to just not get on the scale. I have to get on the scale because I have to measure it. If I don't measure it, I cannot determine if an improvement has been made. The same goes for, collecting baseline set of vitals or vitals at all on a patient. If I don't collect a baseline set of vitals and then at least three, I know we have some policies are like, just get at least two sets of vitals. But so one set of vitals is a baseline, right? Two is an anomaly. The second one is an anomaly, technically. Only until you get three sets is it a trend. That's it. That's when it can officially be determined as a trend. Okay. And if you're not willing to hold the system accountable to it, take those measurements periodically and move forward, making adjustments as you go, you can't expect things to get better. You just cannot. That's an ignorant way to view things. Again, that's the put the core values on a paper, slap it on the wall. We're good. We're good with legal. We're good with HR. We're good. We can put it on a website, right? We're good. But
It's interesting because the company Conway Shield operates under the Entrepreneurial Operating System, the EOS.
mhm,
And part of that is the leadership team. It comes in and we meet once a week. They don't meet to have meetings. They meet to address the issues, the problems, the concerns.
yeah,
But when they do that, everybody at that table is of the same rank.
mhm,
They're different positions within the company, but all of that's taken away. They're all the same.
mhm, yeah,
And there are some very difficult discussions there because people
yeah,
are called out. Hey, you're not doing your part. We are all here with the mission to make Conway Shield the best shield manufacturer there is and to make things better for the company. And the reality is sometimes somebody's slacking and somebody has to call them out. And that
Right. And
creates
that's accountability in action. And it's not easy.
it's not easy, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's crucial for your success.
You cannot do this with emotion and feeling.
Right.
You have to put that aside.
Right.
You have to be accountable for yourself. You have to look and say, look, and we'll take it to firefighting. If you're not following those values, or you can't stretch a line, or you can't do this or do that, then we have to take that up with you and learn
Yeah.
how to make it. We're not scolding you saying you suck less, but we're saying, yeah, you were subpar there. What are we missing? How do we make this better?
Right.
And then that person has to say, much like happens at this table, yeah, you're right, I did. I dropped the
Yeah.
ball.
And then they take ownership, and only then can you move forward.
Yes.
Only then. When the people want to ignore accountability or shirk accountability, push it off on someone else, that's where that that's where that salmonella grows. And it
Yes.
grows and it grows and it grows over time and over time. And then more people get brought into that person's way of thinking. And then pretty soon nobody's held accountable for anything.
Yes.
And then they wonder, why, how do we get here again? How are we here again? And then you have to
Yes.
take a Z-Pack and get a huge shot of antibiotic to get things back on track. And then it starts happening all over again.
Yes.
But how do you change it, right? That's the question. I've got 3 specific tactics that can help change it. And these you can find these in my book, and they're throughout, how we change the culture. So one of the first things we can do is we can take micro shifts, like micro changes, right? And that creates momentum. So things like daily accountability checks, and we kind of do that on the fire truck, right? We have our daily truck checkoffs. But even then, when is it when are people just pencil whipping it? When are people not even doing it? You know? Um, but it's these small things. Fitness standards, right? That's a huge part of our job. Fitness standards. We have a bunch of people who rely on energy drinks and all of this stuff, and then they go to their physical, and then they have a cardiac issue. And it's now they get pulled off the truck because they're having an arrhythmia because they have 4 or 5 energy drinks a day. And it's like, one of the things, as a nutrition coach, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about caffeine is that it doesn't actually give you energy. All of these energy drinks are touted as giving you energy, right? And they are packed with different vitamins like taurine and all this other garbage and stuff. But caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It just makes you forget that you're tired. So you're still the equivalent amount of tired. You just psychologically, neurologically don't care about that anymore because
Interesting.
the caffeine is blocking that receptor, right? And so you just continue the cycle of like becoming this zombie. When if you would just take a 15-minute nap, that would help. Like if you would just give the body what it needs. I had this guy tell me a long time ago. He was a driving instructor, and I was getting my CDL. This was years ago. I was getting my commercial driver's license, and he said one of the things I'll never forget. He said, "Sleep always wins. Sleep always wins." He's
Absolutely.
like, "Don't think you can beat it. Don't think you can outrun it. You will not be able to. The body keeps the score, and sleep will always win. If you are driving and you are tired, pull over somewhere safe and take a 10-minute nap. Just 10 minutes is enough to check the box, to let your body do what it needs to do so you can come back refreshed." And we saturate ourselves with all this caffeine and all this nicotine and all this stuff, and we totally ignore what our body is actively trying to tell us. So these little micro shifts that we create help instill some momentum, right? Those daily accountability checks, our fitness standards, and then just these small disciplines that we have throughout the day. And then next, if we can reframe accountability as care, I think that would go a long way, because we hear the word accountability, we think discipline, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
hold you accountable. And we think it's a bad thing. We think of it as like a bad term. I, even before writing this book, have come to embrace the word accountability. That is really one of my core values now. It has become one of my core values because that is how I operate. And that is everything I filter, everything I see, I filter through that lens, every single thing. And the resilience framework that I created that I use in my coaching group, the FIRE framework, is built on a system of accountability with our fitness, intellect, relationships, and energy. All four of those categories, you are held accountable to the goal that you have set yourself for that category. I'm going to be the one to help hold you accountable to it, to the point where you won't need me anymore, right? And I think I talked to you about this before. Like, my role as a coach, my role as a father is to render myself obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
I want my clients in the Forge to not need me anymore. I want them to have the system in place so that they can have the resilience and the growth in their life that they've been missing. And if they need to come back every now and then, awesome. I'm here for you because I've created the community that is the Forge. But in that group, we are going to talk about some hard things. I am going to hold you accountable to some hard things. And only through that accountability will you be able to grow. And I'm holding you accountable because I care about you, right? I'm a father of three. I hold my children accountable to their actions or inactions because I care about them, not because I just want to be mad at them and punish them all the time. I hold them accountable to help them become the people that they want to be. And by holding someone to the standard, and realizing that it's not a punishment, that it's love, it says, I want you to go home safe. I want you to have a good relationship with your wife. I want you to be healthy and live past 6 months past retirement after you're done with this career. I care about you that much that those are the things that I want for you.
There's a lot in that. It I know that when I was in a downtown company and I used to make them do things they didn't want to do. Um, but there were high-rise protocols that we were supposed to live by, and I felt it was worth it because I had been in scenarios where people did not, and their officers didn't hold them accountable, and in turn, we had tragedies. And I was never going to let that happen on my watch when I was the officer.
Yeah.
And I look even into it might be seatbelt use. It might be wearing your breathing apparatus in an IDLH environment.
Yeah.
If I really care, I'm going to make sure my folks do that. I'm going to make sure they do it because I care about them. I don't want to kill
Right.
one of them. I don't want one. I
Right.
want one of them to be, they had our retirees picnic the other day, and somebody said there was a guy walking around like 92 years old, still in good shape,
Awesome.
and been on pension since eternity.
Nice.
Well, that's what I want everybody to be.
Yeah.
That's what we all should strive for. I want to
Yes.
take, quite frankly, I want to take the city's money.
That's what I say. I want to take them for all I can.
All I can. Yeah. I want to have more time on pension than I did working. But,
Yes.
and if we really care about our people, then that's what we should do. And I really, I've been beating this up because Chief Aaron Lipsky, who's the fire chief of Milwaukee, even before he was a fire chief, he was very strong on breathing apparatus. And we used to we'd punch our holes in our roofs without masks. Trucks didn't wear masks, and then we started putting them on our backs, but we didn't really wear them. And he believed he believed that no, you should be wearing your mask. And there are, we can talk about whether it fogs in the winter and all that other stuff. We can talk about all that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you put a different light on it, and that's the light of. It's not that he's being punitive and saying, you got to wear your mask. Now, he did crush some people, but because we're blockheads, we don't learn well. We don't learn easy.
Right.
But the reality is, if we look at it from the lens of he's the fire chief He's the top of the pile. He has 1,000 members below him, and he genuinely cares about every one of them. And in turn, he wants you to get your pension from the city. So he wants you to wear your mask, not punitively, because the fact is, when we're young, man, let's face it, I am bulletproof,
We're invincible.
invincible.
Yeah, we're invincible.
I'll never get cancer. I'll never have a lung problem. I'll never break my back. I'll never tear my shoulder out. I'll never get a heart valve.
Yeah.
And if you look at it from the lens of caring, like you just said, it's much easier to accept.
Yeah.
It's not being accountable. It's just
Yeah. And if we meet with someone, or if we have that moment, and that's where leadership comes in. If we have that moment where someone's pushing back on us, because we think we're just being a hard ass to them or whatever, that's when we as leaders can take them aside, or even right in front of everybody, just embrace them and be like, hey, I know your wife, Kathy, would never forgive me if I didn't do this. I could not look her in the face and be okay with myself. That's how much I care about you. I'm doing this because I care about you. If we would just take that moment to frame it in that way, everything would change. Everything would change, which kind of leads me to the third thing. Like I talked about the micro shifts and then reframing accountability as care, but that leads into protecting and restoring this brotherhood that we're known for, right? And the only way to honor tradition is to confront complacency. The only way to honor it is to confront complacency. We have some guys who are way more concerned with what new recliners are being ordered than the shape of our fitness gear or our gym equipment, right? There was a wave of stations being built that don't even have a gym. They don't even have a gym, a fire station with no gym, no space for physical fitness.
Most of ours, honestly, I mean, it's changed a lot over the years, but most of ours were out in the apparatus bay. It's just a space we created, brought in our own stuff, bought our own stuff, paid for it all, and did it.
You created it. That's right, because you guys took ownership and you created that thing, right? And now, it's kind of like it depends on, the budget and what we how we're designing the stations and whatever. But if you're not prioritizing the physical fitness and health of your members, you're not prioritizing the people you serve. You're just not. And if we are going to keep allowing this complacency to creep in, and I'm not just talking about physical fitness, there's different things in regards to like EMS training, things like that. But if we allow that complacency to creep in one way, it's just going to fester and it's going to grow into other areas. And then again, we're going to find ourselves asking the question, well, how the hell did we get here? We've got 4 people off the truck right now, or because of on the job injuries, and they all just so happen to be under the same captain. And it's like, is that captain being held accountable? Like what is it like? That's clearly a trend again, right? It's not a baseline, because if one guy gets injured, that's a baseline. If another guy gets injured, that's an anomaly. But if a third guy gets injured, that's a trend. We can't ignore this anymore. Let's take a look at what this captain is doing. Let's take a look at, and it's not as a punitive way. There is clearly a problem. This is a red flag for us to look at. And when I talk about identifying problems, it's interesting because I talk about problems a lot at work. I'm a problem and solution guy. So I want to ask the questions at work like, well, what do you think about this? And Captain, what do you think about that? And what would you do to solve this thing? And my dad told me when I was real young, I have one older brother, and he's like, I like hanging out with your brother more. And I was like, why is that? And he's like, well, he makes me laugh and you make me think. Because I just would ask a bunch of questions, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I get it, it can be exhausting, but at the same time, I want solutions. So like if I'm in a boat and I see a bunch of holes, I'm going to I'm going to point to those holes and be like, "Hey guys, we need to do something about this before we sink." Whereas other people are just fine shuffling water out and letting those holes exist and just shuffling water out because it's what they know, right? Um, but when it comes down to it, asking the questions, pointing out the things is not being negative, quote unquote. I've been labeled, why are you being so negative? Well, I'm merely just asking the question.
Yeah.
I'm not being negative. Now, the topic I'm asking the question about might be a negative topic,
Sure.
but I'm not being negative by simply shining a light on the thing, right? Um, but when it comes to identifying these problems and the only way we can fix them is if we identify them. I mean, it's interesting how again we can show up on a fire ground and show up on an EMS scene and want to do everything we can to identify the immediate threats, identify the problems, stop the bleeding, put the fire out, right? And where you're going to structure our response in this certain way and templatize it so that we can attack it and fix the problem as fast as we can or mitigate the thing. But then when it comes to our organization and when it comes to our personal accountability, we don't want to pay attention to that. We don't want to look at that. And we certainly don't want to have a structured approach to it. And again, therein lies the framework that I provide. There's a structured approach to that accountability. So, you know what? Well, if and when I do my 4 things that I want to do every day based on my fitness goal, my daily fitness goal, my daily intellect goal, my daily relationship goal, and my daily energy goal, if I get all 4 of those things done every day over 12 weeks, I will have done more than most people on the planet have done in 12 months,
Yep.
you know? And it's just consistency over time.
Yep.
And if we can be consistent in our efforts, we're going to root out that complacency naturally.
You know,
So,
it's interesting because you mentioned, one's an anomaly and one is
yeah, the first one's a baseline, the second one's the anomaly, third one's a trend.
a trend. And we our EMS kits used to be in a cabinet outside, and the guys would step out of the rig, open the cabinet,
Grab the
take out
kit.
the boxes, and go. And they moved them to the inside of the cab. So guys were
Okay.
grabbing everything, slinging it, and stepping out of the rig. And all of a sudden, we had this huge uptick in back injuries and ankles
Knees.
and
Yep.
knees. And people
Yep.
are like, what the heck is going on? And they were just dumbfounded. Nobody could figure it out. And somebody, that negative Nancy like you said, well, you know that they put all this stuff on and then they step out of the rig with it.
Yeah.
Instead of before it was in a cabinet outside. And the light bulb went on and they went, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they started asking, how'd you hurt yourself? Well, I threw this bag, the
Getting out
EMS
of the
bag,
truck.
and I stepped out of the truck and I twisted my ankle. I threw the EMS, I grabbed it, and I stepped out, and we had to literally say, okay, we got to move this stuff again because
Clearly that's not working.
people are getting hurt. This isn't working. But again,
Yeah.
if somebody wouldn't have said the question, what
Right.
changed? What's the difference? Because it seemed, secondary and tertiary effects. The original thing, keeping all EMS in the cabinet, because obviously you had, drugs in there and things that had to stay warm. And
Right.
times changed. When I came on the job, our EMS kit, our first aid kit was a bag about this big. It had like 4 Band-Aids in it and a tourniquet. And so things changed. But nobody thought of that part till somebody, Mr. Negative, said, well, no, hey, excuse my language, dumbasses, everybody's stepping out of the rig with all this stuff in their hands. Let alone we made a rig that now is 6 steps to the ground, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting a little crazy.
But
yeah, it's true. If someone wasn't willing to open their mouth and have that crucial conversation about asking the question why, and then looking at the pattern, being an observer, which I'm a huge observer, I don't like people a whole lot, Paul, but I do like watching them a lot. I do like watching people.
That's my
Oh
wife.
man.
My wife loves watching people. She could spend all day watching people.
Right? It's just so interesting, the patterns, the behaviors. But if we can take that observation of those patterns and of those behaviors and put it to use, like, why not do that? Why not do that thing? We are going to protect our people. We're going to become better at our jobs. We're going to become more fulfilled. We're going to be better when it comes, or better off when it comes to longevity, which is really the name of this game, right? Like, we're honestly, I relate us to professional athletes because we go from 0 to 1 at the drop of a hat, right?
Absolutely.
Physically. And the adrenaline dump that we get, the stress that our bodies are put under, the physical demands, all of it. Like, we can be related to professional athletes. They train off season, they play on season, right? But in their careers, they either are winning or losing, right? It's a scoreboard. It's a clear scoreboard. They're either winning or losing. And for us, we don't like win an EMS incident per se, right?
Yeah.
We don't like win a fire. Uh, it's the infinite game, like Simon Sinek talks about. It's the infinite game. We just have to stay in it and be as good as we can be for as long as we can be.
Yep.
And then hopefully, God willing, we'll get into our pensions and be able to maximize that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree with you. We should be treated like professional athletes. You know, I think of my days on a truck company, um, that I went from a dead sleep in a temperature that might be 0 degrees
Yeah.
to within our average response time was under 2 minutes. So to within, let's call it 3 minutes from the time I'm woken up, because we had to be out the door in a minute. So within less than 5 minutes, I went from a dead sleep in 0 degree weather, carrying a 30-foot roof ladder. I mean, a 30-foot single fly ladder, a 20-foot roof ladder, and a saw.
Yep.
Going to a roof at a 12 pitch roof, pushing the
Yeah.
snow off the roof.
Yeah.
And-
That's
and-
snow covered.
That's snow covered. Then making that roof, and quite frankly, if you were the first guy up, we started with an axe. We made the horizontal cut with an axe, and then the saw would come up and they'd make the vertical cuts. But all of that happened within a matter of under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And-
Minutes.
And I literally, there were days where I used to say, I can't breathe. I mean, it is so cold. The cold is whatever it does to your lungs, but it's,
Yeah.
I can't breathe. And if you think you can do that and be 40 pounds overweight,
Yeah.
you're sadly mistaken, because you might
Good
be
luck.
able to do it when you're 22 or 23, but when you're 32 or 33, that ain't going to happen. And the damage you're going to do to yourself is going to shorten that pension time.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, it almost comes full circle to what you said at the beginning of the other episode, of that if they're going to make it ridiculously easy to come on, then it's going to be difficult to develop a culture that, I'll call it a warrior culture, that
Yeah.
we have to be the top of our game. We have to
Yes.
we have to be athletes physically. We have to eat right. We have to sleep, of all things. You know, you mentioned sleep. I think one day, I was, a good friend of mine, Craig Steffen, was standing next to me. I fell asleep standing up with a cup of coffee in my hand because we'd been up for 48 hours.
Yeah.
I just fell asleep because
Yeah.
sleep won. Body keeps the
Sleep
score.
always wins.
and
Yeah, sleep always
and my
wins.
body said, "Time for bed. I don't care
You're
if you're
done,
standing
buddy."
up." And
Yeah.
and he said, he looked at me, he says, "Dude, you were eyes closed, out cold for a good 5 minutes, standing
Wow.
there." So you're right. Those things are all important, and I really, when we ask ourselves, why is our culture bad? Let's step aside for a minute and say that we can't fix necessarily the culture that the city may create for us by developing the candidates. In the city of Milwaukee, for example, it's a separate third party that hires. Fire department doesn't hire.
Oh,
We have nothing to
interesting.
do with it. They give you a list. They give the chief engineer or the fire chief a list. Here's your list.
Uh-huh.
Here's your candidates. And we put them through the paces.
Yeah. Okay, I can understand that.
So because it's in the days of nepotism and really, so if your whole family's firefighters and you want to be a firefighter, or somehow if the fire department's setting up the test, you'll probably end up number 2.
Yeah, guess what? Big surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. So that's why that was all created. But
Yeah.
And that's civil service anywhere. But the reality is that doesn't mean that we have to accept that culture. We don't have to accept a complacency culture. We don't have to do all that. And
Right.
certainly, and I think this is key. Leadership drives values. Values drive behavior. Behavior drives culture, and culture drives performance.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not kidding you. When I go home today in my home gym, I'm going to have the graphics guys downstairs make that, and I'm sticking it on the
Nice.
wall
Yeah.
because
Nice.
that's it, man.
Yeah, that's a path. That's a clear path.
Yep.
Well, we talked about leadership in the last one. We're talking about culture now, and we have questionnaires that we send out to our people, and across the board, you see it in articles across the nation about like culture issues, leadership issues, but nobody can really define what that means or what exactly they can't pinpoint what exactly it is that's hurting those two things. And for me, that is the clear path. The leadership drives values, values drive behavior, behavior drives culture, culture drives performance. And ultimately, just follow that path. But where you have to start, like the starting point of that path, is you as an organization, you as a company officer, you as a chief, you as a firefighter, you as just a person have to ask yourself, what do we want to be known for? What do I want to be known for? Then you can identify. I want to be known for these 3 things. I sent you a challenge coin the other day.
Yes.
An ignited challenge coin. I've got the 3 core values on there: action, ownership, brotherhood. Those are the things that I want to be known for. So everything that I do within the scope of my organization, Ignited, is filtered through those 3 things. And if it doesn't check that, if it doesn't pass that test, it doesn't go. It doesn't fly, because those are the things I want to be known for.
Yeah, but it's and a good friend of mine, basically, he has the same philosophy as you do, and he always would say, are your actions in line with your values?
Yeah, integrity.
Yep, right away.
That is the definition of it.
I'd call him up and I'd say, look, I got this issue and I'm thinking about this, and he'd say, which action aligns with your values? There's your answer. And I'd be like, damn it. Why do you do this to me? But he was right.
You make him think, you don't make him laugh, just like my dad
Yep,
said, huh?
yep.
But one of the things I learned that kind of shocked me was going through writing this book. I wanted to make sure that I had my definitive terms clear. I wanted to make sure that I had clearly defined what trust was, what integrity was, what accountability was. When I looked up integrity, the definition, it was, you're doing what you say you're going to do, for good or bad. So even someone who is nefarious, they still have integrity in that thing, right? The opposite, if you just scroll down on the Merriam-Webster website, or the app, which is what I used, I scrolled down and I went to antonyms for integrity. What is the complete opposite of integrity? And the second thing listed was evil. Evil is the opposite of integrity. When you are operating in a way that is the opposite of how you say you're operating, that is the definition of evil. Now, and it gave me chills. It like made me shudder. Like, oh man, now I'm filtering my actions through that too. Am I being evil? Like, is this the, if I were to do that thing, does that make me evil? Does that put me in the antonym area when it comes to integrity? So your buddy's not far off. He's pretty dead on. So
No, he's he's an unbelievably good man, and he is my mentor. He's my son's mentor now that my son runs the business. But again, that puts a whole new perspective on it for me,
puts an
because
eternal perspective on it, doesn't it?
amen, brother. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it does, and it's like,
It makes you think
whoa,
celestial. Yeah.
whoa,
It makes you
yeah,
think celestial.
yeah, that's no good. I don't like that. I don't like
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah.
That means every time I'm lack integrity, I'm
Yeah.
doing evil, which in the eyes of my creator is wrong. Yeah, this is a spiral of bad stuff, bad juju,
Yeah. Yeah.
bad.
And I'll take it up a step further in regards to, your faith or your energy, what it is that feeds your spirit. For me, it's my faith. And once you have an understanding of who you are in your faith, there is no more neutral ground. There is no going back to not knowing the thing. There is no more neutral ground. And so I take that maybe a little too much to heart, but I look at that in my career as well. When I signed up to be a firefighter, I promised to the organization that believed in me, that was willing to put their name on my back. I promised them that I would be mentally resilient, that I would be physically strong, that I would be emotionally supportive, and that I would act with integrity. Because once I got hired and once I signed that contract and am wearing that uniform, there is no more neutral ground.
Brother, what you just said there, I wish I would have had when I was instructing my firefighters and my chiefs and everybody in the organization. I used to use the term protect the brand. I'd say, look, this brand was here before us. It's going to be here after us. My job as the chief operations is to keep you, to the best of my ability, safe, providing you the equipment you need and the training you need. But I will, at all costs, protect this brand. And I expect you to do the same. And what you just said there makes it firefighter understandable. That when we used to say, when you walk, think about that feeling you felt when you walked across the stage and they gave you your badge.
Badge, yeah. Yes. Yep.
You would have dragged through broken glass.
Yeah.
To get that.
Yep.
And 5 years later, the job sucks, the people suck, everything's horrible, the union's bad, blah, 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 blah. Well, you gave up integrity.
Yeah.
And it is that. It is that you've said it. When that department gave you that opportunity, you agreed to them that you would be all of those things.
Yep.
Even in good times and in bad. It's kind of like the marriage thing. Yeah, it's not always a bed of roses. There's times where things are not as sweet as they should be. But you have to be able to look and better your marriage, or for this part, better the organization. Yep. You talked earlier about
being an asset, right?
Being an asset, correct. But you talked earlier about the guy who keeps going back, the abused wife and that kind of relationship in the fire service.
And betrayal trauma situation.
Betrayal trauma, correct. And I look at that and I say, I just had another associate of mine that he he was told he was going to be the fire chief, and he didn't get it.
Mm.
And it wasn't that he didn't get it, as it was more so that they weren't telling him the truth. And he felt truly betrayed.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't let that betrayal of that organization. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be
Okay to
angry.
be affected by it. Yes.
But then get up on your feet and prove them wrong and prove that they made a mistake and help out. Either if you're going to stay with that organization, help that out, help the organization out, help that guy who became the chief instead of you out. Or if you choose that, you know what, I still want to be a fire chief, so I'm going to go somewhere else and become a fire chief, then be the best fire chief you can be and be so good at it that they go, oh, how did we not see that? I guess we made a mistake.
Yeah, you have a choice, right? You can allow their lack of integrity to rub off on you and cause you to have a lack of integrity, even if it's just with yourself.
Yep.
Even if you're just lying to yourself or fooling yourself.
Yep.
But therein lies the line, right? That's the line. You can either, there is no more neutral ground. There is no more demilitarized zone. There is none of that anymore. Like, once you experience that betrayal trauma, you either go along with them and become complicit, or you stand your ground and you keep to the promises that you made. I'm going to be the best firefighter I can be. I'm going to keep up on my training. I'm going to learn something new every year. I'm going to treat people with respect. I'm going to lead with compassion. Those are the things that will set you apart. And it's interesting because once you do that, once you draw that line and you're living that way, where there is no neutral ground anymore, the evil people, the people who are operating without integrity, will hate you for it. They will hate you for it because they'll be either jealous of you or they will be mad that you are showing them that there is a better way and that it can be done.
Because again, I'm going to, we'll speak of faith in my personal life, in my life, not just personal life, but in my life. That is in my walk, because, and I was just listening to a podcast this morning, a guy talking about, when you surrender, that you have this amazing epiphany, or most do, and then your walk with Christ is this amazing thing. And then the devil keeps trying to break that and put wedges in there. But the reality is, you realize it's going to be a long walk, and you're going to learn every single day, and you're going to get better every day. But one of the things I think that I'll use it this way, that makes a difference to me, is when the Holy Spirit is in you, there is none of that middle ground.
Right.
When you're walking the path, and immediately when you're not. Immediately.
Yeah.
And
spirit. Yep. That's a spirit telling you.
And I look and I go, there's things that I want to do. I had a steak the other day. I was traveling. I went to a podcast seminar and a steak and had a cocktail and I won't lie, it was like, oh, and that first one tasted so good, I wanted to have 3-4 more. But it was that thing of, go ahead, but are you living the way you're supposed to be living? And don't get me wrong, we're not going to go into whether you should drink or not or anything of those things.
Right, yeah.
It's just for me.
Just an example.
For me personally, I can't, my integrity can be damaged if my thought process is confused with alcohol.
Is compromised.
Compromised.
That's
correct.
right.
So I don't do it.
Yeah.
I just don't do it.
Yeah. 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 Amen to that. I'm the same way. Growing up as a teenager, I was surrounded by drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol were a big part of my family life. My father was an abusive alcoholic and was addicted to many other things as well. And I grew up with the mindset of, wow, that really didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
Like, that's not
I'm
really
not laughing
something
at
that
him. I'm just laughing at,
no, no,
yeah,
no, I
that's so
get it.
true.
Yeah, the concept, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
But and I love my father and I love my family, but at the same time, we're none of us are perfect, but you can either look at those instances and learn from them, or you can become complacent and be a part of them. There's no more neutral ground, right? So I decided early on that I wasn't going to drink alcohol. When I was a young kid, I decided, well, it ruined my family. My parents got divorced when I was 4. My dad spent time in jail because of it. He was gone for years of my adolescent life because of it. And so I'm like, wow, that thing destroyed my family. I'm just going to make the decision not to be a part of it. So that when the choice came later on, I didn't need to make the choice because I've already made the decision.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I don't need
Absolutely.
to I already made the decision that I'm not gonna do drugs and any of that stuff. I and so when the time came that it was offered to me, I didn't have to make the choice because I already made the decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I already drew a line.
I look and I say in my teenage years, I don't think there was one guy I hung out with that didn't smoke dope, except for me and one other guy that already had determined by the age 14 we were going to be firefighters.
There you go.
So there was no question. There was never, I
Right.
mean, like if I went to a buddy's house where I'd walk into the garage and they were all burning a rope, I'd be like,
Right.
I'm out. See you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, I can't be here.
I can't be here.
This doesn't align with my goals. It doesn't
Nope.
align.
I
If
can't
I
be here.
stayed here, I would be out of integrity.
Correct.
Yeah.
And even as I came on the job and I was working, and I remember, I went to it was a big soiree out in Vegas. Some friends of mine invited me to this big thing, and and there was I don't know what do you even call it. It wasn't a hotel room, but it was like a whatever. But it was a big party, and the same thing. I walked in and I looked, and there's literally like people doing cocaine out in the open. And I
Jeez.
said, "Gotta go." And they're like,
Yeah,
"What do you
I'm
mean?"
out.
I says, "I can't be in here." I
I'm
said,
out.
"If the cops come through this door right now, I'm in jeopardy of my job, which I fought like heck to get. I'm out." And they're like, "Oh, come on, stay." And I like, "No, there was no question." And and I gotta say, my wife at the time, she was like, "Yeah, we got to roll." And I'm like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah.
let's go, let's go.
Yeah,
We're
we're
out of
out.
here." Uh, and
But
and everybody looked. So I don't know what the big deal is. No, it may not be a big deal to any of you. I don't care.
right.
But to me,
And
it was huge.
yeah, that is such a testament to core values in action. That is what that looks like in action. You had sense of self, you had core values, you had things you were working towards that you valued, right?
Yeah,
And so if the action didn't get if it wouldn't make it through the filter of those core values, it's not for me. I can't be a part of it. And
yeah,
it's not gonna exist here. And everybody's core values are different, right? Which is and I'm, whatever. You want to do drugs, it's your life, it's cool, whatever. I'm not a person to judge, but I can judge the environment. I can judge character. I'm not going to judge your eternal soul. That's left for one
yeah.
guy.
Absolutely.
But I but but I can judge your character. I can judge the environment. And then I get to decide if I want to be around that or be a part of it,
Yep.
right? And that is core values in action. And if we can establish a clear set of core values within ourselves, within our organizations, even on a crew level, some of the best captains, I've only actually witnessed 2 captains in my entire career, and both of them didn't work for the organization I worked for, um, had established a set of crew core values. And so anytime they would do a successful training, like if they were, if we're, we're all competitive. If we were doing like ladder raises and they got the best time, they would shout their 3 core values. And
Nice.
I don't remember what they were, but they would be like, you know, time, talent, and energy. I don't know, but they would do that together. and they were one of the most solid crews. They loved each other. They knew each other. They worked well. No discipline came out of that crew. You
Yep.
know, no discipline issues.
Yep.
But it was amazing to see, and everything they did was filtered through that set of values. And if it didn't align, it didn't belong.
So, believe it or not, we've run through another hour. So as we wrap this up, what are the takeaways you want to leave to our listeners about maintaining your core values and aligning yourself and the culture of the company you're with that?
First of all, you really do have to identify what your values are. You really have to define that. For me, culture and leadership are inseparable. And like I said, leadership creates culture. And the interesting part of that is culture exposes leadership. So if we want to make the fire service truly special, again, if we want to really bring it back to what, this ideal version of it is, we have to raise both. We have to improve our leadership, and we have to focus on culture. People think culture is a byproduct of what we do. And I'm like, yes and no. If you're conscious about it, what you do becomes a byproduct of your culture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's just one of those things, leadership creates culture, and culture exposes the leadership. If you have a real bad culture, that's a huge indicator that there's something wrong with your leadership. Huge indicator.
I will agree with that. I will definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. So, as we wrap up, can you lift your book up one more time?
Yeah.
Own it. Own that book. Go out.
Own the book.
Own the book, man. Own it. Ryan, I thank you for being on the podcast for a couple more times. I really appreciate it. I will have all your social media links within the podcast. Look, brothers and sisters, there are very few people that I can turn and talk to for hours, and honestly could talk for hours more. But this man right here is one of them. And if you are truly looking to change your culture or to make your leadership better, because as we've learned, they're intertwined.
Yeah. Reach
out to this guy. I'm telling you. I mean, we've had conversations off camera, and the depth of the understanding that Ryan has on these topics, I think is really, really deep and is amazing. And I strongly recommend, again, get the book, own it, and look this cat up, because I think he can help your organization. And with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you for listening. Hit the subscribe button. We need the subscribers. You're the ones that make this whole thing work. I appreciate you being here. I thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. God bless.